Insane in the membrane.
Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane, with me, Rich Wilson. And this week I'm joined by the wonderful Danny Beard. Hello.
Hi, Gorge. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've put the wrong shirt on.
Do you know, I was just about to compliment the shirt. It's
were you?
giving. It's for those that can't see, which is everyone. I feel one, very lucky, and two, it's kind of giving like hangover vibes. It's nice and floral. Your hair's back.
That's
You're
it.
very relaxed.
Thank you. But the material is like I think it's like polyester or something. It's something that doesn't breathe. And I'm
not good. Muggy.
And I'm Oh, you've gone off. I can't hear you. That's it, yeah. Hello?
Sorry, mate.
That's all right,
I'm
mate.
all good.
There you go. Yeah, I think I was
saying I'm a drag queen, so shall I say that again for you?
Yeah.
And I'm a drag queen, so I should know what looks good and what doesn't. But
well, this is it.
Non-breathable's not good, but listen, we can't smell you, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you could be the cleanest person going and have the best deodorant, but you know, when there's that mixture of the terrible material. This is it. This is what I find. I don't know. I was only introduced to the drag world sort of 10 years ago, really. So I don't really know much about it. I had a good chat with John Sizzle on the show. We had him on. He was telling me about what he does, and I find it fascinating that, and especially now, I was watching your stuff. It's like it's on another level now. Like it's gone beyond simple drag. It's like actual. It's I can't even describe it. It's like it's art and it's something else. Was that?
I kind of like that you've said that, because I think a lot of people's perceptions of drag are men dressing in women's clothing. It's this kind of female impersonation. And while that is drag, I think it can be more than that. And I think, if anything, I'm more of a clown than a drag queen. The way I paint my face, it's clearly supposed to look like a mask. It's a white face, and I always like clean around the edges so you can see the difference between my actual skin and the face. And then there's elements of drag like the body and the corset and the fake boobies and the hips and the heels and, you know, all of those OTT signifiers of drag, if you will. But I just think it's a great medium to entertain, and that's what I am. I'm an entertainer. I'm a singer. You know, I'm lucky enough I get to do presenting and other stuff now. But fundamentally, I just want to give people a good time.
I think that's just what we do. I'm a comedian by trade, and it's especially now with people have got a lot of money, and so they'll invest the last bit of money they've got in a night out, and it's up to you to give them value for money. And I saw that when you did that. There was a festival you did in Ealing. It was like the £20 festival. Yeah. And I read the write-up about why you did it, and I'm like, this is why I love you and why I love what you do, because you understand that people are struggling at the minute, but still want to be entertained.
And don't get me wrong, not everything we can do like this 20 quid festival that we're doing in Ealing. It's called As One, and they came to me and was like, this is the idea of this festival we want to put on. We want it to be 20 quid tickets. And, you know, I was like, well, let's do it. I've helped them curate a whole stage of other talented performers. Some of them have been on shows like Drag Race that I've come from, and you know, working in media and can afford to lower the fee a little bit. And some of them aren't. Some of them are up and coming drag performers that needs that platform. So I jumped at the chance to do that. I love it. I'm very, very lucky in what I do right now. I think anyone who can do their art for a living is in a very lucky position. So why wouldn't I?
Definitely.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I get to have a good time doing it. And hopefully everyone's going to have a really good time and laugh the tits off. Can we swear, by the way? I swear terrible.
Swear
I'll try not swear. I won't say
swear.
the C-bomb. Let's leave the C-bomb out for today.
We'll see how we go. Sometimes
unless
it happens.
we start talking about the Tories, then I might have to use it.
Well, but this is it, isn't it? It's I mean, where are you from? Liverpool? Where is
Yeah.
it from? Yeah. So it's a given. Listen, you don't even have to be from Liverpool.
Given.
I fucking, I still am blown away by people still voting for those fucking scumbags. Still,
What's scary for me is this rise of reform and this kind of real right wing rise. I mean, it's mad in France at the minute. It's crazy in America, but they've all got the little pillows on their ear for Donald Trump. It's just. I would love to have thought we're in 2024. Yeah, we are. I'd love to have thought in 2024 we didn't need to hate on any minority, whoever they are, to fuel our politics. But hey ho, that's the world we're living in.
Yeah, and now it feels like there's a little bit of regression where it felt like we were progressing at a rate. Suddenly, I think because everyone's under pressure, suddenly everyone's coming in again, and they're starting to so 2 days ago, I was sat with somebody, and Pride came up, and because last night there was Acast did their Pride gig, and I was talking about that, and then someone said, yeah, but what about straight pride? And you're like, people don't get it. They still don't understand why we have pride.
I think people like to center themselves in absolutely everything, and I think that's the world we live in. Everything's so fast-paced, and everyone wants to center themselves. And when people say things like, what about straight pride? Like, I always think, well, straight pride was the Euros. Straight pride is you being able to just go on holiday and not have to Google first. What is it okay for me to go? Like, if I wouldn't personally go on holiday to Dubai. People are being awful over there just for being themselves. So the people that don't get it, I don't think they want to get it. Man, that's fuck off. Do you know what I mean? But what I love about my job, especially being a drag queen, is, and you probably get this in your comedy gigs, when you get couples coming, it's usually the girl, it's usually the wife, the girlfriend, whatever, fan of Drag Race, fan of drag, whatever, come to the show, and they bring the fella who doesn't really want to be there. They come in with a pint in each hand just to signify my hands are full, do not talk to me. And I love, by the end of the show, that they've laughed at all my jokes, they've had a good time, I've sung my songs with my band, and they've enjoyed the show. And I kind of enjoy seeing people that might not be a fan of me or what I do or know who I am or whatever, at the end of it actually have a good time. I think there's a real power in that, and I think comedians, drag queens, that's what we can do. They're the steps that hopefully will take us to a place where people stop thinking about straight pride. I mean, also, what would the straight pride flag look like? God. It'd be grey, probably. Like, everyone's interiors are grey right now. Crushed velvet sofas and dogs that can't breathe, and live, laugh, love. It just say live, laugh, love on a grey sign.
It'll just be straight pride would just like you've said. It'd be like being in B&M. That'll be straight pride.
It'd be like being in B&M.
There'd just be Morris dancers everywhere. There'd be pie eating contests. And then the Spitfires would fly over.
Yeah. Bit of football hooliganism would probably burn out a bus like they've just done in Leeds.
That's it. And then we'd all sing "Don't Look Back in Anger." That'd be the end.
Yeah. Sounds quite fun, actually. I might go.
Yeah, now you put it that way, and I love B&M.
Yeah.
It's still what's amazing though is those people that say, they'll be going, oh, what about straight pride? But then they'll watch Drag Race and they'll go to the brunches, the drag brunches, and they'll go and they don't seem to marry up the two. They don't think that the two are connected sometimes.
A bit of a disassociation. Like, it's like people who are homophobic but then love Graham Norton on the telly or Alan Carr. It's like, and the other thing is what I think a lot of people don't realise is we're everywhere. That shirt you're wearing that's made out of polyester, that pattern probably came from a gay person's mind. Like, we're everywhere. We've always been everywhere, and we're always going to be everywhere. We don't choose to be it. We just are. And I think people need to remember that with the whole trans debate. Now, I don't want to derail this convo completely, but for me, I would describe myself as queer. It's quite a new word. Like, I'm gay, but queer just kind of encompasses that whole umbrella term, and just it, back in the day, queer was different, weird, and well, I am. So I kind of like that, and I think we're seeing history repeat itself, like I just said about this rise of the right wing, and people just like trans people make up 2% of our population. Just leave them alone. If you don't know a trans person, just piss off and just focus on something else. Like, I don't get it personally, but hey ho, I wear foam tits and high heels for a living.
But it's that I remember, like you've just said, about how how much of the population are actually trans, but they make it sound like there's like hordes of trans people coming over the hill to take over your toilets, and you're going, no, it's like 0.6% or whatever it is. And I was talking to Danny St. James about it, and she said,
Love her.
Yeah, she's amazing, and
Great.
she works really hard and really fights for it. And she said, like, I've spent thousands and thousands of pounds to become the person that I always knew I truly was. Do you think I spent all this so I could fuck about in your toilet? Like, I needed to find out who I was, and this is who I am.
And the thing with this toilet thing as well, I think this comes from people who are transphobic don't see trans women as women. So what they're afraid of is men coming into their spaces and assaulting them, which is a very real threat and a very real thing that's happening all the time. This week in the news, there's a man who's just killed his ex-partner, her mum and her sister because he couldn't handle being broken up with. Male violence is so real and so true and happening. And I think the thing is, men aren't going to pretend to be a woman if they want to hurt you. Men are going to hurt you. And I think that's people are using that fear to demonize a community that just really want to live and just go about their life. And like with everything, when we saw like the rise in racism and, like there was a big anti-Asian thing a while ago, it still happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. They find one instance and they use that as the poster, and they find this one instance of a man attacking a woman in America who put a wig on. Yeah. And that was a trans person. And I just think, like, if you actually just think about it logically, you could draw these conclusions yourself, but then, we live in Britain where not everyone's logic.
But it is that fear, isn't it? It's just fear. And if they really sat down and thought about it logically, as you say, they would work it out. And what I do love about the times we live in now is that people are more able to. There are more spaces for people to be who they really are, and there is a community for those people. Even if when they're starting out and they're not really sure, they are welcomed, and they're like, "Yeah, listen, we've all been through it. We know what you mean. Like come join us. We will help you." Whereas I remember my dad telling me that his dad, my grandfather, he used to wear women's clothing, but had to do it secretly. He had a whole life that no one really spoke about. That and he was desperately unhappy, and that how could you want anyone to live like that just so you feel better? Do you know what I mean? It's like it makes me sad that people
makes me really sad. But I also think the new generation of Gen Z's kids. I'm a millennial, so I feel old, but I'm not. But I feel it, but I'm not, and I'll make sure I say that again. I think a lot of them, I don't think particularly care, and I hope when they're the people in charge, we'll see less of this hate. That's what maybe I'm being a bit too hopeful, but that's what I like to see, and that's why I think representation matters, and that's why doing what I do, I never really thought about that, like most performers.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Sorry, this went a bit skew.
That's all right.
Like most performers, probably egotistical. I just love performing, but actually what I've found that comes with it is whatever platform that is, social media, radio, telly, all the things that we get to do, actually they just start to become a little bit of a responsibility. There is people that might see themselves in what you do. So as time's gone on, the more I do think it's important to champion the voice of your community, whatever that is. And for me, it is the queer LGBTQ rainbow people. So
Yeah.
I'll speak up for them if I've got a bit of a platform.
Yeah, and this is it. It's like with me, I talk about in my act about being, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. So there was a certain way of thinking that was that was plumbed into you. And it's not until you grow up and then start to go out into the world and start to go, oh, yeah, that was pretty bad. That wasn't good. Like, I went to an all boys school. I said this before on here. If we knew someone was gay, they would just get bullied to fucking every day. We're relentless. But then everyone was getting bullied. It was that kind of climate, and it was like that at school. And it's not until later on.
You'd have them. I'm glad I'm gay.
But it's that. But now it's like, so now what I'm like, look, I grew up just like that. I grew up surrounded by people saying that being gay was wrong. This is wrong. That's wrong. Men in women's clothing. That's wrong. It's weird. It's this. It's that. And now I'm out the other side. I'm learning. I'm like, oh shit, yeah. This is actually my life is so much brighter now that I've got colours in it. Like the shirt and because I was hanging around with people in like drag queens and people like that, and I've got sequins on my trainers, and I've got. I'm like, who doesn't want who doesn't want that? It's so gay.
So gay. But you know what? And I love that. And I always say I actually love being gay. I went through that. I went through the bullying in school. I had to move from Liverpool to the Wirral when I was a kid. Thankfully, I had the most amazing family. I still do have the most amazing family. And my mum just, when I moved, was like, you can be anything you want to be now. And when I moved to that second secondary school, that's when I started doing the drama. That's when I started living and loving the things that I love, and musical and acting. And, and actually drag has brought me full circle into all that stuff I love. So I love being who I am, and I love being gay. And I live in a bit of a gay bubble, and I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah.
To be honest. And I like to work on straight people in my show, and my new tour, it's called Straight Expectations, and I talk a bit about being gay, what my view of straight culture is, because people who are straight don't even think straight culture is a thing. But let me tell you, it's a thing. We've already touched on it now.
Yeah, what's your take on it? I want to hear it.
It's crushed velvet sofas. It's the live, laugh, love signs. I love that straight people jump on these trends, especially people my age. They are obsessed with this, like Mrs. Hinch, labeling all their things in the cupboards. These dogs that can't breathe, all these French bulldogs that can't breathe. They even want the dogs to be grey. It's like, bring a bit of colour in your life, guys. But, we get straight people like you that have brought maybe a bit too much colour in their life. But I'd rather have you. I'd rather have you than the reformers.
I get men at gigs coming up and going, where'd you get that sweatshirt from? I had this like coral, like Nike sweatshirt on. Nice. And this fella came up and he went, oh, where'd you get that? I went, oh, I got it from Size. And he was like, oh, I wish I could wear stuff like that. And I'm like, mate, just wear it. Just go and wear it. And it's always like the most adventurous they get is a bit of maroon, like burgundy. Ooh. That's as adventurous as they'll get. And you're like, no, come with me. Come and wear this. Yeah. And it's
better with colouring. The world's better with difference in it, and I think I'd like to think that actually most people think that.
Yeah,
maybe I'm delusional. I think most people are like us and actually just don't really give a shit. I think that. I just think the ones that aren't are vocal about it. Good for them. They need a good shag.
I mean, I do remember the first time I wore a red shirt out.
The first time out of shag, then.
I remember that. It wasn't the best. Even that, I've talked about this a lot on here. I had an experience with a fella, and I was just intrigued. And then we did something, and then I was like, oh, that was all right, but it's not really for me. But at least I tried it. I had a bash. Here's what it is. It wasn't for me.
I think as well, like the funny thing about that is, I think the world we live in, we have gay, straight. We have this terminology that mean black and white. And actually, I don't think sexuality's like that. I think in that moment that you had and that experience you had, in that moment, you felt away and you went with it. And that says a lot about you, because you're not. I think the heteronormative world we live in, we are bullied and we are made to feel like those things are wrong. And then it's when it's that internalized hatred and fear, then we take that out on other people. And actually, if a lot more people just were a bit more free thinking and, oh, right now, this is kind of where I'm going, I'm going to try this, and didn't have all these internal emotions, one, there'd probably be a lot less doors in this country with holes in, because men can talk about how they feel rather than punching holes in doors, and probably have a lot less hate, for the people that aren't afraid to go with how they are or be who they want to be, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's great that you speak about it on here. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
someone else will have had that experience and not been able to deal with it or speak about it and feel shit about it.
Well, that's it.
You need to. It
was
for
a
you.
nice
Great.
time.
That shirt's probably not going to be for you in 6 months. You'll move on to another. That's life.
I'm going to have to start cutting some holes in it so it can breathe. You know, but it's funny.
And pop a panel in the back.
That's it. That's what you want to do. But I said it because I talked about my experience on another podcast, and quite a laddie sort of podcast. And the amount of shit that I got in the comments under the video, honestly, I'm just going, and that was just for that. So I'm like, fuck knows what it must be like on the regular for people who are gay.
Yeah.
And shit. Honestly, it was like, you're gay, mate. You're gay. No, you're gay. He sucked your cock. You're gay. And he goes, no, I had a nice time. And I was like, yeah, he was very good at what he does. It was a
You've got one. You know what it feels like.
Exactly. It was a banging blowjob. But
most of them people in them comments have probably had a similar experience, so that it makes them feel better to take it out on you than be able to talk about it. And actually, the best thing in life is talking. It's about your feelings, your problems. And I think that's why comedy and you know, there's an element of what I do. I don't like to say I'm a stand-up, but you know, in my show, in between me singing songs, it's stand-up, and that's talking. It's about talking about things, and actually it's about making those things not serious, laughing at them.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to deal with them.
Yeah. Well, I was watching Sophie Willan at the Soho Theatre. And I was watching her, and she did this whole bit about being a sex worker, and the whole place was busting. Everyone was just falling about, and I'm like, you can talk about this stuff. You can absolutely talk about this stuff. And I leant over to my ex-partner, and I just went, you know that story I told you about that fella? She went, yeah. And I went, I said, I said, like, he paid me to just look at my dick. And she went, yeah. I said, he actually sucked it. And she went, I fucking knew it. She goes, I fucking knew it. Yeah. So,
good for you.
Fuck it. You've probably spoken about this so many times, I imagine. Yeah. But for the benefit of my listeners, how did the drag queen come about? What was your first kind of start with that?
I always wanted to be. I knew I was going to be an entertainer in some way growing up. I loved musicals. Kind of got bullied out of me for a few years, and then, like I said, when I went to that secondary school that I went to, I kind of threw myself into it, and for a weird period, I just wanted to be on Hollyoaks. I was obsessed with that.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why. It was a weird period in my life, but it was a dream at one point. And in uni, I had started to DJ in the clubs because I was flying on the street. A DJ left. I lied and said I could DJ. Wow. One day I was in the office, and to be honest, I'm just fundamentally a lazy person, so I'll find out the best way of getting the most money for doing the least work, and that's why I started DJing.
That's why I'm a comedian.
Yeah, exactly. And a drag queen wages was on the side with the money written on the envelope, and mine on my envelope, and they got a lot more money, quite rightly so. And I was like, why have they got more money? And the manager was like, well, they're in drag. So I said, well, I'll come in drag for my next shift.
Wow.
And I want that. Joking, kind of. Did it, had a fucking ball, went out afterwards, got in all the clubs for free because I was in drag and they wanted me in there, got drinks for free, and everything just kind of started falling into place. That very quickly became hosting shows, which is where the comedy came into it. Then someone was like, would you sing some songs while you host to fill a bit more time? And I was very nervous about doing that. I'd not done it since school. Just kind of did it. found my voice really, and then that kind of snowballed. I ended up auditioning for BGT because someone saw one of my
Yeah.
shows. I won a national drag competition first.
Oh
Then I
wow.
ended up at BGT, and then it just really snowballed. And then weirdly, drag's kind of brought me full circle into everything I always wanted to do. Presenting, I was on Hollyoaks, played
Brilliant.
myself. Which was crazy. And, you know, I'm presenting bits on Radio 1 and just doing all this stuff I always wanted to do. And drag just brought me there. And it feels like such a gift. It's such an armor to put on. When I go and watch comedy and they've not got any crutch, which drag kind of was at first, was my crutch, was my armor, was a mask. I always admire them. And again, as time comes on, I've become so much more confident as a person out of drag, and I don't think I'd have been able to do some of these things that I've done had it not been for the drag. And it just felt right. And I don't want to be cheesy and say it's a calling, but for me, when people ask me, I say it's a lifestyle because it's my job, it's my hobby, it's my passion, and it encompasses so much. You know, I get to do stand-up, I get to sing, I get to perform massive events, I get to present, I get to act, I get to design costumes, I get to do makeup. It's such a weird job that encompasses so many other jobs that people just do one of. I feel so lucky every day that I get to do it. And the massive payoff is everyone around me has a good time. They're having a laugh. Everyone's escaping their lives. I'm escaping my life. I don't have to think about whatever. So it's fab. I love it.
It's beautiful. Wow. What a lovely way to put it all. It's really nice. It's lovely. And you can see how happy you are. It's really beautiful. But talking about making your costume, your outfits and things like that.
Yeah.
Is that because I've watched Drag Race and I was saying to my wife, because my wife's a big fan, she's a huge fan of you. She was like, "Are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be in there." She's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." So I when I watch it and it's like, "Oh right, you've got to make this outfit this week." I'm like, "What?" So have you got to be a seamstress? Are you able to? You got to be able to make your own. Because I know there was a person before, Jackie Potato, and she used to do a lot. She used to do a lot of stuff for lots of people. And I'm like, do you have to be able to make your own stuff? Or am I just being naive?
Yeah. No, for Drag Race, yes. So Drag Race, for those that don't know, just in case there is anyone there, it's a drag queen constructed reality show where each week you get set different challenges and you do a runway at the end, so you bring a look with you. So all those looks you bring with you, I didn't make. I had a massive team of different designers, 5-6 different designers that made all of them. And I design them with them and they create them. But there is challenges on Drag Race where you do have to sew. So I learned to do that and be a seamstress for the show. Since the show's finished, I've never sewn another thing because it is one thing that is so skilled. And I genuinely don't have the time for it now. And I'm incredibly lucky to say that, but I don't. And also the entertainment, that's the side I love. That creative side.
Yeah.
Even with makeup, I'm very good at the makeup now. I mean, when I started, I wasn't, but I'm very good at that now. That all feels like part of the process to get me onto the stage. While the costuming is, I like to be involved in that design process and give. There's a lot of queer designers that work on my outfits that, you know, I work with a guy called Joshua Hansler. He's like a uni lecturer. He's leaving that now. He's full-time designing. And that's come off the back of not just working with me, but working with other people. I put him in touch with Oti Mabuse recently. He dressed there for the BAFTAs. He might be doing more stuff for there. You know, and I love that through what I do, there's other queer people that also get uplifted.
Yeah.
It's just a fab community. Yeah. If you're listening to this now, honestly, change religion, become a gay. It's fabulous.
Honestly, I'm sitting there going, do you know what? I think you're onto something here. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I you know, because it was funny because I have a problem watching things like Drag Race, not because of the subject matter, but because of the competition element. Yeah. I find it brutal. I feel because it's when they have to. It's when they have to sashay away,
Yeah.
and that it makes me so sad. You know,
Because there isn't a reality show like it, if you think about it, because this is our livelihoods. And there's no guarantee that you'll win it. I'm very, very lucky I won it. But there's people that go and that spend thousands because we buy all our own outfits to go. It's not like Love Island where you've just got to be hot and have 2 brain cells. We've got to actually bring our career and put our careers on the line technically. Because those people that are out in the first couple of episodes, they don't get as much work, admiration, all the opportunities, and that's nothing really to do with their talent. There's plenty of amazing talented people on that show that go home early, but that's the risk you take, and it is brutal. And I think it's done a lot for drag culture, for the drag queens in everything, on everything, and I think it's brought that to the forefront. But I also think it could, and it should at some point, go that extra step further, because drag isn't, like I said before, isn't just men dressing up in women's clothing.
Yeah.
I see myself as a clown, but there's plenty of people that do drag that are maybe women, or drag kings, or bio queens, which is biological women who dress up in drag. And I suppose they can be a drag version of themselves. Or there's even something called Tranimal, which goes back to the Club Kid era, which is kind of not even human. It's this crazy, this alien drag. Like, these are niche things, but these are still parts of the art form, performative, and some of them might just lip sync, or some of them might just do online content, but it's all still drag, and it's all still engaging art, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible that, because again, like you said, you know, it's not just about dressing up in women's clothing. The amount of effort that goes into it, and the dance as well. I remember watching, I can't remember what the drag queen's called, and they did this backflip, front flip, and then ended up on their
in the
splits. Yeah, can't remember their name. Black.
There's a few people. I tell you what, I take me out. That's not something I can do. Nor do I want to do. I already have to bash me nuts up between my legs. I don't particularly fancy bashing me nuts into the floor on top of it. So anyone that does that in drag, I really do take the hat off to them. I'd much rather stand there and sing a song with my band and take the piss out of people's clothes than have to try and injure myself. But I mean,
oh my god,
that's drag. It can be anything you want it to be, and some of these are pro dancers.
They're incredible. And I tell you, I'm 52. If I did that, if I landed on my balls like that, I'd bounce into the audience.
It's not
disappear. But is that what? But that's it. I mean, even that's what I'm saying. It's not just putting on the clothing. Like, it's the strapping up and the pushing out the way, and then being like that for hours.
It's the most glamorous job you will ever come across. And like, just before you've put your outfit on, what people don't know is the whole so I wear a corset, which is a custom corset, boned, which cinches your waist in. So if you're in that for a long period of time and you're filming something, or you're at a gig, or whatever you're doing, and you're in that for a long period of time, you know, you can't eat. You can only drink a certain amount. It really contorts the stomach. Then you wear hip pads. Then I wear about 6 layers of tights to smooth the hip pads to give that feminine body shape. Then you have like a bodycon sucking, which is what your tits go in. And that's, 6, 7, 8 layers before you've even got an outfit on.
Jesus.
Then you're gluing a wig on. Then you're gluing eyelashes on. It's literally, your body's covered from head to toe in all this stuff. And you without being too arty-farty, you end up becoming like living, walking, talking piece of art.
Yeah. Well, you can't.
Not everyone. Some people look shit, but the ones that look good.
Yeah, there's a few people, and you're like, no, you look like me. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not for you. But let's not go there. Let's not
go
talk
there.
about bag of chips that way.
Oh, bless Bag of Chips. I love her.
I love
it's that. I mean, you know, you must spend all day when you're like that, especially if you're filming in a TV studio under all those lights as well. You must, it's almost like you must have to go into almost like a meditative state to keep yourself from thinking claustrophobic thoughts, and
I think as well, though, like I've done this now well over 10 years, and that's the thing. A lot of people think you go on Drag Race and it's an overnight success. I was working and doing the pubs and the clubs and the drag cabaret circuit for years, and I loved my job. And if everything what I'm doing now in the media and all of that came to a halt, and I had to go back to it, it wouldn't be a sad time
no,
because I loved it. I mean, I've been fucking gutted because I'm always hungry for more and the next thing. But it's not like it wouldn't be a shit situation, is what I'm saying. I loved it. And there is this weird disconnect, I think, because like comedians that work the circuit, once you get to a point, you do start crossing over into other mediums. There is a weird bit of a disconnect with drag, and I think a lot of people still kind of don't really take it seriously. It shouldn't be taken too seriously. It's fucking ridiculous. But I think now I work in telly and stuff, I do find we get to the final for this big show or that big show, and then they go in another direction, or they think, oh, we'll just get a drag queen in on this, and don't really think that it's going to take me 2.5 hours to get ready, or that the outfits are thousands of pounds. It's like there's a lot more stuff that goes into it that people don't think. I'm not trying to paint myself out to be a victim by any stretch of the imagination. I have a fucking ball. But it's just food for thought.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I might have said this on a previous episode. I remember going to, there was a club in Putney. I remember going there. This is about 20, 25 years ago. And
I was born.
Yeah, you weren't even around then. Jesus Christ.
I was really, but I love that you believe me.
I did though. You've got great complexion.
It's Botox.
Botox those years away. Yeah.
Yeah. You're in Putney.
So I was in Putney and I went to this club, and I remember being in there and seeing young guys in there, and they were dressed in women's clothing. To be honest, I don't know why. I've said this before, why we have men and women's. Because if you had a piece of material and you've made a shirt and a blouse out of that same piece of material, it's just it's the shirt and it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like we have trainers now. Trainers are still men and women's. It's like, yeah, but women's have the better colours. Can we not fucking stop this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love women's fashion, I have to say. I think women's fashion is so much more expressive. The tailoring always is so much nicer. Even a really nice tailored man's suit is still fairly fucking simple. But women's is always pushed out. But then I feel like we don't really let men, that old, oh, boys should be boys. We never let men express themselves. We don't teach men to be able to express themselves.
Yeah.
In our culture, I have to say, in Western culture. In other cultures, it's completely the opposite, And
yes.
you look at these. I recently saw these tribes. I don't know why I'm giggling. It's not really funny, but I recently saw these tribes that have not been touched by civilization for years come out, and they all were dressed so ornately, and there was no real difference between the men and the women. In fact, the only difference where the men actually were more decorated than the women. They had more colours and feathers and brighter things on them. So it is Western culture seems very weirdly tailored around men and not letting men express themselves. And like we said before, men don't deal with emotion or talk about things. And if they just did, if someone would say to young kids growing up, talk about it, I feel like we'd have a lot less problems.
Yeah. And just that kind of like with our baby now that we've just had, we're already, there isn't it's not just like boy stuff and girl stuff. Like we are mixing up. I mean, he's got an electric blue fur coat, for fuck's sake.
Yes.
So we're already starting, and that my boys I've already had before, they're more open and with their colours and things they do. They're quite adventurous, and so it's it's there. I just find it I can't remember why I got onto this now. I've gone off on this
I do
tangent.
this all the time.
Yeah, I remember being in this club in Putney and seeing young fellas, and they were dressed in women's clothing, but it was quite frumpy. They were like grandmas, and I don't know, is that how they start? Is that a thing that you've got to find in yourself?
Some people, but I also feel like good for you. Like I feel like we have people like Sam Smith now who gets a lot of shit dressing the way they do, and then I think, well, then look at Iggy Stardust. Look at all these people. Boy George back in the day, like
Oh God, yeah.
It was kind of cool in the 80s, and it's kind of not now. I don't know. It just
the conversations were there. I remember sitting in the lounge watching Top of the Pops, and Boy George came on, and we'd heard the record, so we didn't know what Boy George looked like. We just knew this band Culture Club, and everyone was like, "That's a great song. It's a great song." And then he was on Top of the Pops, and everyone was like, "What? Who is that?" And it was Matt. Everyone was like, "Did you see Top of the Pops?" I was like, "Was that a man or a woman?" Like real. I mean, this is the 80s, so it was still very kind of. This was a big thing.
The way they're now remembered is not that, and that's what I hope that people do in the future. Like I think, and that's again to bring it back to drag, but that's why I love that it kind of breaks that down, and the people that get it, and I have to say the fans of it are so supportive and loving. And crazy. And actually, I really do have Drag Race to thank for that. I get messages every day, come to Brazil, come to Brazil. I think I'd be scared to walk down the street in Brazil, and it's taken me all around the world. Like I toured Australia, and we were in Tasmania, this tiny island off Australia, and I was walking down the street and somebody recognized me there, and I thought, wow, what a time to be alive. How lucky am I that this art form has taken me to these places. Like this opportunity is just amazing to be able to do this. So I just love it, relish it, wear what I want. I'm actually not that gay. I don't think. I mean, I am, but I mean, I've got a lot of gay friends who are a lot gayer than me. I think people assume because I'm a drag queen, I'm really flamboyant and camp, which I am. But I'm not.
But I think you're.
No, I know a lot more flamers.
Yes, I do too. But I think in the way society is now, I think there's like you say, you don't look that, you're not as gay as a lot of people. But I think
I put curtains at the minute, like I'm in a 90s boy band.
It's proper. I was admiring the curtains.
Thank you.
Sentence I never thought I'd say.
Yeah.
But I think there is. I've seen comedians as well. Straight comedians are being a bit more flamboyant with what they're wearing, with the earrings and jewelry and their hair, and even your glasses and things like that. There's a lot more men now that are going down that route of being a little bit more gender fluid. It's happening. Yeah,
and again, representation matters. Harry Styles is like so at the forefront of that, and that's why I think this like Gen Z and these people that are growing up now, I think it's going to matter less and less. Harry Styles is a great example of it. Wears a bit of nail polish, he's got his little rhinestoney suits on, and he's still quite hyper masculine, I think, with a flamboyant edge, and that's okay. And I just think if there's anyone listening to this is your sign to go and buy that shirt. This is your sign to go to that night, do those things. I would hate to, on my deathbed, think, I wish I'd have done that, or even worse, I wish I'd have worn that. What a shit thought. Just do it.
I've been there. I was talking to there's a comedian called Abigail Shaman, and she was talking about her partner Tom, and Tom had these incredible nails. They went to like a point where they were in this like kind of pearlescent, like dark green, and I was like, your nails are spectacular. I really wish, and again, I did say that. I said, I wish I'd been more open to these things when I was younger. And and I'm like, yeah, and I have seen that as well. Men are wearing nail varnish, and my middle son Bailey, he wears nail varnish, and I'm like,
Love
fucking
that.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Bailey. We might
Yeah.
see you at your next gig with a full set of acrylics. Rich Wilson fans will all start turning up, like all the Donald Trump fans with the little Temu pillows on the rear. All your fans will start turning up with full sets of acrylics like Dolly Parton.
Imagine, oh my god, with these sausage mitts, God Almighty. Oh, but so what's next for Danny Beard? What's happening next? You've got a lot on.
So much on, and again, I feel like I have to say this. I feel all the time super lucky because there's so many people who are just as talented or more talented that don't get the opportunities. But I love doing it. I'm going on tour in September, full UK theatre tour. It's called Straight Expectations.
Yeah, brilliant.
The final night is in London's Peacock Theatre, so please buy a ticket for that because my arse is clapping that we're not going to fill the West End, and it is my West End debut.
Wow.
Loads of stuff. I'm doing Siget Festival in Budapest soon. Headline in Manchester Pride, closing the whole event after the Sugar Babes on the Sunday. Again,
Fantastic.
I've got the lineup. Brighton Pride, so many Pride events. All the info's always on my Instagram. It's very accessible. And on my social medias, you can see my summer schedule on there. But the big thing is this UK tour, Straight Expectations. It's me, my full 5-piece live band, who are amazing, make me sound 10 times better than I am. And it's a fucking good night out. There's going to be loads of bangers in there. You can get up and have a boogie, have a laugh, have a couple of drinks. Please don't bring your kids. It's not a child-friendly show. I've nothing against drag queens that are appropriate for kids performing with kids. I think that's another we could do another whole podcast on it. But my show is adult, and I don't fucking want the kids there. Come and have a good night. Get the kids babysat. If you're going to sit on the front few rows, though, please dress nicely because I will fucking rip you a whole new bum hole if you look shit. I'm not going through those hours of effort and thousands of rhinestones to be stared back at by somebody in a Georgia Asda tracksuit.
And on that note, Danny Beard, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for joining me today. Honestly, I can't wait to see you on tour. I can't wait. My wife is a huge fan. We're going to come and see her. It'll be brilliant. This has been Insane in the Membrane. I've been Rich Wilson. This has been the marvelous Danny Beard, and we see you next time.
See you soon.
Oh, that was amazing.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.